How much does a sewer line repair cost? This is a question that I got when I was working with a homeowner recently in a Seattle neighborhood. When when we pulled the sewer inspection to look at it, it was pretty rough. Okay, so I would love to share with you a little bit of the details, where there were red flags, and how we got to a rough estimate of what this would cost, uh, so they could make an informed decision about whether to write an offer on this home, how much they should write it for, and how intensive this repair would likely be. So this was actually one of the, uh, I would say, one of the roughest sewer reports I've read in a while. So I'm not going to share the address with you, but we'll say that a sewer scope is one of the most straightforward repairs, or sorry, excuse me, back that up. A sewer scope is one of the most straightforward and objective inspections that you can do on a home. They run about $300 here in the Seattle area, and depending on whether or not you have a sewer clean out or if they need to remove a toilet. Usually it's a little extra to remove a toilet to access a sewer line. They shove a camera through the sewer line all the way out to the city connection from a home. And this will give you actual visuals on the state of the sewer line. What we're looking for are breaks, bellies, offsets, and root intrusion. Now, root intrusion is one of the most common problems that we'll see. And that's a fairly easy type of fix where either they'll do a rotor rooter where they're sending down a little screwdriver, like a little thing to clean out the sewer line, or they'll hydro jet. That type of repair or that type of clean out, runs less than $1,000. But a major sewer repair where there is a break, a crack, lots of offsets where the sewer line isn't broken, but they're not lined up properly, those can be very expensive. So, but how expensive? Things have increased in cost with inflation. So here were things in this report that set off some alarm bells in my book. So they inspected the line from the clean out of the garage towards the main line. They didn't inspect the entire line. So that was one important thing in this particular property. There's a notable amount of erosion in the bottom of the 4-inch concrete pipe, with cracks developing at 26 and a half feet, 29 feet, 30 and a half feet, 35 feet, 37 and a half feet, 44. So we're seeing cracks in just erosion of the sewer line in a lot of different places throughout the pipe. So these were the repair recommendations. There is a hole in the bottom of the pipe at 13 and a half feet, and a substantial break along the bottom of the pipe from 15 to 16 and a half feet, located 6 and a half feet below the side yard. There is a hole in the break in the bottom of the 6-inch concrete pipe at 46 and a half feet, below the concrete retaining wall. 3 to 4 feet deep at the terrace level and 2.5 feet at the sidewalk level. Recommendations: excavate. Hello, alarm bells. Excavate the pipe from 45 to 48 feet. Verify the western drain line is still active or not before removing the connection of the tie-in at 45 feet. The owner believes this is inactive. Okay, this comment here also set off some questions for me as a real estate agent in Seattle. Like, why do they think it's inactive? Looking at the sewer map in the public records, this shows that it probably would be active. Remake the neighbor's connection at 47 and a half feet. Install a liner for the 6-inch pipe at the same time. The full length of this particular pipe was 81 and a half feet. Okay, so this was a rough one. So given the amount of cracks and breaks and holes that were described in this report, I was really concerned about the condition of this sewer line and how extensive the work would be, and also, what is it going to cost? And also, so a few things as a homeowner turned renovator that I believe are so important are to get multiple quotes. Now, if you're a homeowner that's going to fix something like a sewer line or take on another major project, I always recommend getting 3 quotes because you need multiple data points and you need detailed statements of work that you can compare against each other to know, is excavation included? Are they going to, does this include dumping fees for the material that's replaced? What about removing and replacing the material on top of it? So I called another sewer repair company in Seattle, and they were kind enough to review the sewer scope report for me and to watch the video. Now, the one thing about a sewer scope that is so great is that they actually record the whole thing. It is objective in that sense because you can take that video and have somebody else watch it. So I had this other company take a look. They also pulled up that public record that showed the map of the sewer system, where it connected to the main line, how it tied in with the neighbor's yard, where everything, the side sewers were around the home. And their estimate for this particular project was, hey, like, they didn't recommend actually lining it based on the video. Their recommendation was to replace the entire sewer line. So two things that come up in terms of alarm bells for me in this, and not knowing what the scope is. I have two different companies that are recommending two different courses of action. This is important because you want to make sure that you're making a good decision for the investment in your home and taking care of the problem. So if you are pumping $10,000 to $20,000 into the repair of the sewer line, you want to make sure this is going to last, not be a problem. Or if you're going to sell your house, you want to know that it's going to pass inspection and that your repairs are going to last. So for the part that was visible in the actual inspection was from the garage out to the street. The estimate for that work was $17,000 to $20,000 plus tax. Now, as I mentioned before, in this particular home, there was actually a whole section that wasn't really particularly visible in the actual scope. So we only had a video recording of the 6-inch from the 6-inch sewer clean out in the garage out to the main line. But there was 4-inch pipes that wrapped all the way around the house that were under beautiful new landscaping, custom poured pavers, and the existing sewer line also ran directly underneath some new concrete terrace walls. Now, this is an important lesson for a homeowner. If you're a home buyer, when you're doing a project, make sure to do things in the proper order. In this particular instance, the homeowner had invested probably about $20,000 in redoing the landscaping. They'd had custom concrete planters poured, and it looked really beautiful. They had built up the side yard so that the backyard was level and flat, and had done all of this investment around the circumference of the property and this corner lot. And it was really beautiful, but they didn't take care of the systems that were under the ground first. So they already had been excavating. They had people out there digging and moving dirt. And while they took care of some of the drainage that was under the newly poured cement driveway, they didn't, before they put down the new pavers in the front yard, or they redid the side yard, they didn't take care of the sewer problem. I don't know if they didn't know that it existed, but basically, that when I talked to one of the companies, they said, hey, like, this is a time bomb. This is something where it's not an if this is going to break, it's a when. So what happens when your sewer line actually breaks, or it ruptures, or it collapses? If there's holes and offsets and all these things and it actually collapses, well, that sewage backs up into your basement, or your house, or wherever it might be, and it causes a much bigger problem. So yeah, it could be a couple years before that happens. It could happen tomorrow. So it was really concerning that you had this problem. Now, so I asked for an estimate to also do all of the sewer lines. So assuming that, let's say on the ones that were not able to be inspected, those had to be replaced too. And they said that would probably be about $25,000 plus tax. So we're looking at between $20,000 and $30,000 for this sewer line repair. This was an 81.5-foot sewer line connection to the city. It does the length of the sewer. The sewer line makes a big difference in terms of the scope of the cost. So if you have like a 200-foot sewer connection or longer. I've seen that in some places where there's an easement and it's not down a long road and it can tie into the city. It can be significantly more expensive to take care of those just because of the length or the accessibility. So if it's on a major road, suddenly you need to have people with stop signs directing traffic, and that can really increase your cost if it's not on a quiet residential street where people can just drive around the road work that very easily. So how much does it cost to do, a major sewer line repair? In this case, it was somewhere between, I'd say 20 to $30,000, including tax. So sales tax here is, a little bit over 10%. That does take a pretty big chunk of someone's budget. In this case, my estimate was that this is going to be more because they would have to potentially remove and replace existing hardscape. So landscaping, like the poured concrete, uh, terraced planters, as well as really like beautiful large poured concrete, walking paths. So unfortunately, the work that they had invested to make this look really beautiful and have great curb appeal was going to have to be redone, most likely. So those are the types of things that you want to ask yourself. You know, uh, so the sewer line repair is, they're not a landscaping company. They're not going to replant your trees or, do some of these other things to restore the landscape to its existing condition. And that is something you'll just want to also take into account when you're estimating whether or not you need to do that planning. Or if you're considering taking on a big project before you rip out your yard and redo everything, take care of the systems that are below the surface first. I know it's what I call the unsexy money, where you put lots of money into something like a sewer system and you can't actually see it. It can be really frustrating, but it will be really important for the long-term enjoyment of your home and preventative maintenance. So not deferring some of these things or waiting for an emergency. A lot of times I'll see these really older homes, especially in the Seattle area. A lot of the homes were built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and the clay pipes that they used, the original clay pipes, just were not designed to last that long. So you'll look through the permit records and I'll find emergency repair, and it will really show such a significant, something became an emergency. And when you're calling out companies to do something urgently and you're paying to go to the front of the line, it is going to be even more expensive than if you're planning that. So whenever you're buying a home, always, always, always get a sewer scope. They are relatively inexpensive and can give you really great insights about what is beneath the surface. If you're a seller, having these done in advance can provide a lot of, excuse me, we are live, excuse me, can provide a lot of peace of mind when you can show that things have been done, or might show you that you should take care of something. I am finding in today's market that buyers are a little bit less open to doing work. So when the really big fixer-uppers, those are those homes are sitting a little bit longer than the homes that are really move-in ready. So things that are needing a lot of repairs, like, and massive investment. For a buyer, it's a really big unknown, right? So, what is this going to cost? Worst case scenario. And if it's not taken care of already, I tend to like work with folks to understand what is the worst case scenario for this project. Should something go wrong, this becomes an emergency, or you have to do a more comprehensive excavation of the whole sewer line, right? Again, one of the things you can do to help ease minds is to get estimates. So maybe you do have a sewer issue, and something you don't want to invest in. Well, you can also get some estimates so you can share with prospective buyers like what the scope of this work would be. I did some additional calling around for my clients because I feel it's really important to have as much knowledge as possible before you make a big financial decision like buying a house. But selling a house, you can also at least provide transparency and certainty to prospective buyers by estimating that work, having pros come out and look at it, and providing those to really interested parties so they can they have the peace of mind in knowing that they at least understand the scope of the work that needs to be done. So sewer scopes, whether you're buying or selling, or a homeowner that needs to do a big repair, they can be very expensive. So something to take care of before you do other types of cosmetic work, because it does, of course, disrupt the outside of your house. You have to rip out landscaping, depending on whether or not it ties in with a neighbor's sewer line. You might need to negotiate with your neighbors, help get their help paying for something. There's a lot of things to consider. So I hope that this provided some insights about how much it costs to repair a sewer line in Seattle. It will vary from market to market. Our area tends to be more expensive than others. You might find this to be perfectly reasonable. Whether or not it will actually cost $20,000 to $30,000 in your area depends, but it is going to be a pretty large scope of work for a major sewer repair. I'm Julie Bennett. I am a woman on a mission to make renovation easier, and I'm a Seattle real estate agent. So if you are looking for an agent or to buy or sell a home with someone that does the research, and I would love to speak with you more, you can hit the follow button for more bite-sized real estate and renovation tips. And you can get in touch with me in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any additional questions that I can help you answer, you can drop them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.